Akio Morita is a Japanese entrepreneur and co-founder of Sony Corporation who played a key role in turning the company into a global technology leader. Born in 1921 to a wealthy sake brewing family, Morita was fascinated by electronics and physics from a young age. In 1944, Morita graduated from Osaka Imperial University with a degree in physics. During World War II, he served as an officer in the Japanese Navy, where he met Masaru Ibuka, his future partner. In 1946, they founded Tokyo Tsushin Kogyo with an initial capital of about 190,000 yen and a staff of 20, which later became Sony. Ibuka was 30 years old at the time, and Morita was 25. An interesting story about how the Soviet authorities gave him a royal reception, showed him the best factories in the country, and offered him profitable cooperation. But instead of the long-awaited yes, they received a harsh refusal. What was it that shocked the Japanese businessman so much in the USSR? It was the 1970s when the Soviet Union was actively looking for technologies to modernize its industry. Of particular interest was the Japanese corporation Sony, with its revolutionary developments in the field of electronics. The invitation to the founder of the company was sent at the highest level. Before the trip, friends warned Morita and his wife about the primitive living conditions in the USSR and advised them to take bottles of water, towels, and toilet paper. But these precautions naturally turned out to be unnecessary. Morita arrived in Moscow, and from the first minutes it became clear that the guests were being treated specially. A government car drove right up to the plane, personal translators did not leave them for a minute, and customs formalities were abolished. There was no limit to the care for the guests. When Morita's wife wanted to try some pies, it caused quite a stir among the attendants. Pies are workers' food, you're unlikely to eat them, the interpreter patiently explained. But after many phone calls, the guest's wish was finally granted, and the couple happily ate delicious pies with meat and vegetables, standing together with the workers. Deputy Chairman of the State Committee for Science and Technology, German Gvisciani, personally accompanied the delegation to enterprises in Moscow and Leningrad, demonstrating the achievements of the Soviet electronics industry. But what Morita saw at the factories did not impress him. According to him, Soviet enterprises lagged behind Japan and the West in the field of electronics by 8 to 10 years. Primitive tools and inefficient production processes were used. Most importantly, the Japanese entrepreneur noticed the complete indifference of workers and management to the quality of products. No one was interested in improving technology. In a country where there was no competition, there were no incentives for innovation. At the end of the visit, Gvisciani made a tempting offer of cooperation, emphasizing the advantages of the Soviet economy: no inflation, low wages, stable labor force. When he asked Morita to express his opinion, the Japanese was extremely frank. He explained that in Japan they spend years perfecting even such simple things as a screwdriver, conduct detailed studies of temperature conditions for soldering, while in the USSR, due to communist ideology, which contradicts the very essence of business, allegedly none of the workers are interested in the results of their work. The moment of demonstration of the Soviet black and white television, which was planned to be exported to Europe, became indicative for the Japanese. Morita was struck by the primitiveness of design in the country of great art and ballet. When he asked why technology and aesthetics were not combined, a representative of the Ministry of Communications answered honestly, "Art is not our area." This answer became for Morita a death sentence for Soviet industry. According to Morita, in the Soviet Union, technical development was concentrated in space and military programs, but did not concern consumer goods at all. Whereas the population was concerned, the design and quality of technology lagged seriously. Sony was ready to sell the USSR ready-made radio equipment and even offered technical assistance in improving the Soviet television. But the transfer of key technologies under license, especially the revolutionary Trinitron system, was categorically excluded. Incidentally, this position concerned not only the Soviet Union, but also China, to which the Japanese at that time also did not disclose their technologies, refusing to cooperate. The decisive factor apparently was the experience of the Italian company Fiat. In the book, Morita referred to how the Italians transferred car production technology to the USSR, after which cars appeared in Europe that externally copied Fiat, but in his opinion were significantly inferior in quality. Fiat's reputation suffered because of this, and we do not want the same fate to befall us, the Sony founder said. It is difficult to say whether Morita was right or it looked arrogant, but the fact remains that Sony is still a symbol of quality and continues to produce some of the best products on the market. For example, the company's modern TVs are still associated with premium quality. Many people chase them despite the price.